is being recorded.
Okay, then. Hello, testing. Everybody hear me?
So on the Skype call, is Hal Lohr. He is a top dog, big leader, background scenes puller.
Chairman of the board, baby.
Chairman of the board at Independent California. Hal, real quick, tell us your role at Independent California in about a minute. What is it you do? What's your position?
Okay. Well, as chairman of the board, my main job is to chair meetings to make sure that we have our goals, we meet our commitments, and we can and we move forward. I am the liaison between the different departments. I make sure that everybody's informed of things that are going on, and generally take the political direction from our ED, one Shankar Singham, and make those things happen. That's what I do.
So recently you've taken on a additional role, not as much work, but another high-level kind of administrative position as with the California Lib movement, or CALM, Political Action Committee. Could you tell us about the role you've taken on with the CALM-PAC recently?
Well, I've been asked to sit on that board as well. Basically, it would be up to me to act as a liaison, to help liaison between the different organizations, to help make sure that everybody has a say, to make sure that we don't descend into bickering, but generally speaking, it's to ensure that we hold to the path. We make sure that we are focused on the California independence movement. With this PAC coming online, it gives us the opportunity, and it gives us a place to gather funding, to work together to achieve our goals, our common goals.
Now, my understanding is that you, Hal Lohr, and Hannah Miyamoto are the only two people actually on the paperwork for the PAC. Now, I've agreed to be the spokesperson for the PAC, but I'm not actually in any decision-making power. It's just you and Hannah. And the reason that I like that was because it allowed me to prove a selling point that I'm giving to people, which is you should all support the PAC, because the PAC, even if you don't have direct decision power over the PAC will benefit every CalExit organization. The PAC will eventually have money to be able to help support any event by any CalExit organization. It can donate to any politician in any CalExit organization's headquarters backyard, get them to talk about issues they want, and it can improve narratives into the news by producing its own news. Am I getting that correct, that everybody should support this, even though you and Hannah technically have the only two keys to the car?
Well, yes. In short, yes. The long answer here, and I'll try to keep that as short as possible.
You can wax poetic.
Is that as it sits right now, we don't have a common room for the entirety of the California independence movement. We don't have a place where everybody can go. We've all agreed to work together, but the structure to do that has not really been put in place. And considering modern political realities, we do need this. We need not only the interface between the organizations, but the ability to support each other within that structure. Now, with just Hannah and I on board at the moment, yes, to get this thing up and running, too many people in it to start. I can understand where people may be may actually even find themselves a little leery of this. But generally, until we have everything in place, until we have the bones in place, Um, we're going to need to have an ability to get things off the ground. A political action committee in itself is, being that it's a necessity in modern politics. I mean, unfortunately, we have to live and we have to work in a large part within the current political structure. Without a PAC, without a political action committee, without that bridge organization, without that bridging, we can't be as effective. This allows us to work together, or to fund individual efforts, or to back individual efforts without actually having to step on anybody's toes, without actually having to get in anybody's way. And that's the intent. So that's the big scary intent. We're going to use this as a communications device and as a way to back how everybody approaches as a broad umbrella California independence movement.
So people shouldn't look at you as, in regards to this PAC, they should not say, well, Hal Lohr's in charge of Independent California and Hannah Miyamoto's in charge of Cal Pride. And so those groups might compete against my group. What you're saying is, yeah, I do have that association with IC. And yeah, Hannah has her own organization too. But the PAC is for everybody. What it does are tools that are available for all groups, so no group should feel threatened. Am I summarizing this correctly?
Yes. Again, in short, yes. This is outside of Independent California. This is outside of Cal Pride. We're going to use these talents. We're going to use these talents to create the space necessary to begin. There's no gun to the head. There's nothing in it for Independent California from this, more so than anybody else, or for Cal Pride for that matter. It is a way for us to exercise political largesse, to work with each other, in a structure where we can all be comfortable, rather than basically having to sit across the table from each other, representing individual organizations. For me, I would tell you, and I would tell Hannah, I would tell anybody else, if I'm doing a bad job, vote me out. Vote me out. Vote me out. As any of us should be. As any of us should be.
Yeah, but you're constantly saying, hey, I came from the streets in this movement. I was in the streets for a year, taking orders from others, helping out from other people, playing good soldier, following orders, and then I was voted into this position. And ever since you got voted,
no fault of mine.
Yeah, you came from the bottom, you worked, you took orders from someone else, and then at some point you were voted in. And ever since you've had the power, the reign, you have always said, you don't like what I'm doing, hold an election.
Yeah.
So yes. I think that's very transparent and in the best way possible, that you're like, yeah, I'm going to call the shots like I'm a director. The moment you don't like it, replace me. That's how I got here in the first place, because you didn't have anybody else better than me to handle it. And by the way, if they're running for an election, I think you've made some dramatic improvements, and I see in your short term there. Is that correct?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it within the framework to make those improvements that I see necessary for Independent California to move forward. It has, and I'll stop for a moment and say I have an excellent team. Inside Independent California, I have a great team to work with. But as I try to explain, as I say to everybody, whenever anyone asks, it's the movement that's critical. It's the movement that's important. If we place our goals, our egos, in the achievement of a successful movement, the the day that California raises its own flag over our own capital. That's our moment of pride. I don't have to, I don't need to be fighting from here to there with everybody.
Well, let me ask you two key questions.
Sure.
So the first one is the game I like to play. I'm in the Cal Exit movement. I'm in a separate organization from you.
Mm-hmm.
I walked into a hallway with you. You have less than 2 minutes to explain to me why I should back the PAC, not feel like it's a competitive thing, and I walk away feeling like, yeah, that PAC's for everybody, and anybody who cares about California independence should be trying to promote it and grow it. I don't need to feel like, oh, well, he's technically an IC and it's competition. No, I walk away thinking, this is for everybody. You got less than 2 minutes to change my mind. What would you say to me?
Okay. First is talent pool. No, none of our organizations individually are completely good at everything we're going to need to do to make this happen. We have a tremendous talent pool. We have a tremendous group of people, but many of them happen to be in disparate organizations. They're not all in one place. We have great capabilities, but not necessarily working all this at the same time or in the same place. So that's one. Number two is that nobody's individual organization can be everywhere at once.
Mm.
No one's individual organization can be everywhere at once. You can't. It's like some of us are going to be better at politics in the state house. Some will be better in the street. Some will be better at talking to people or addressing people on a college campus. None of us are perfect at all of this. None of our organizations are perfect at all of this. The ability to call in resources from an organization, from a better organization to take advantage of opportunities is a serious advantage and something to consider.
Last question.
Okay.
This is only part one. I would hope, with your permission, we could do part two later as the concept of a political action committee gets better understood in the community. So just
we'll break out the lights,
Now, one of the things that I've noticed watching you and Hannah, and I found it highly ironic that the two of you both gravitated to the PAC, because a year ago I noticed a pattern. You and Hannah seem to do the same tone of selling the movement. So everybody's had their own version of selling the movement the way they thought was best. But I noticed that you and Hannah, without talking, gravitated to kind of the same attitude, what I call the yeah, duh attitude.
Okay.
I think you've heard my term, and I say this with love, boring, insurance salesman. And what I've noticed is that Hannah used the term, she had a way of explaining it, and you had a way of explaining lifeboat. And you had a kind of, why are you looking at me crazy thing? But Hannah's lifeboat, why are you looking at me crazy? I've seen merged into a yeah, duh tone, which is like this. And you tell me if I'm getting it right. Traditionally, the movement said, you've got to get out there and support California because we're Californians. And what I've seen you and Hannah do is say, no, I mean, there's a place for that. But I'd rather approach someone on the streets and go like this. Oh, you think I'm crazy for wanting to be an independent Californian? Have you watched the television set? Do you see the disaster burning every night on TV? Did you see the Senate not take evidence, not hold a justice trial? Did you see America fail at a disaster response? You mean to tell me I'm the silly one for thinking about what if we have to sail on our own? I think you, sir or ma'am, are in fact the crazy one for not even considering that you need to start building a lifeboat. You don't sail in a ship with no lifeboat. No ocean vessel does that. Nobody sails the open seas and says, I don't need a lifeboat. I'm going to put all my faith in my ship will always sail. So am I getting this tone right? And explain it in your words.
Well, 2 + 2 is 4 is not a talking point. 2 + 2 is 4 is not a talking point. I was saying earlier, we have brilliant people. We have brilliant people who have written tremendous pieces on the advantages, the disadvantages. We've spoken in the street to people. We've argued in crowds. We've bullhorned. We've gone toe to toe. And nothing being said breaks that up. Nothing being said. 2 + 2 is still 4. The tone is based on the idea that we really should be past that discussion now. You can turn on the television, turn on the news, turn on any channel, and it's a dumpster fire. I mean, and we don't have to judge. We don't have to be judgmental. We don't have to stand back and point. See, look at this guy. No. We know that this is not the best that we can have. We have that math already. That math's done. We know what it is. California can do better than this easily. So the discussion is, it's like, why are you still trying to make why are you still trying to make those points? Why are we still talking as though there are talking points to make here? 2016 call, they want their talking points back. We're done talking. It's like, we've explained it already so many times that why don't you just go, before you want to argue with us, just go and talk, or go and read up and then come back. And go and read up and then come back.
I love it. I love it.
You're not up on current events. So why are you trying to argue? Why are you trying to argue in a master class? No, this is different. We're in a different phase of the movement now. We've taken 3-4 years explaining over and over again why it's not the best move for us to remain part of the United States. We have books. We have people writing books, publishing books on these topics. And now the argument is, well, because you have to stay. You have to stay. No. Again. Yeah, so that's where it's that we've argued to the point of exhaustion. We've argued the points to the moment where they're threadbare. Well, it's like, this is America. It's like we're one election away from having a Democrat back in the White House. No, this is not going to fix anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to make life better for us. We've had Democrats in the White House. They fly in, pick up their check, and leave. It doesn't make California any better. It doesn't improve things here. We're still fighting the same fights. And we're still arguing the same talking points. And I don't know how you feel about it, but aren't you tired of trying to make the same talking point over and over, having to repeat the same talking point, knowing that the person who's asking you what they're going to ask, what you're going to say because the talking point is already there, how they're going to respond, and the point they're about to make makes no sense whatsoever.
I will say that I wasn't there with you and Hannah before. I was more on the radical trip, but you and Hannah said this first. And after the Senate and the federal Senate decided to not even hear the evidence against Donald Trump in the investigation on withholding weapons aid for Ukraine, I instantly became there. For me, talking with other people like Daniel Costa, it was like, well, there's nothing more obvious than the Senate not even bothering to look at evidence to show that the federal system doesn't work. And if you want to blame Republicans, that's fine. But the fact is that they have so much control that you're still saying the federal system doesn't work. And now we fast forward to the coronavirus epidemic, and it's very clear the federal system doesn't work on emergency management. So whoever you want to blame, the feds can't do justice and they can't do emergencies. And I don't see why we need a third example. It's super obvious with those two alone.
And we don't, there's no angry argument left here. There really needs to be no angry, there's really no angry argument left to make. Because despite whatever bluster is being put forward, whatever talking point is being laid on the table, we've seen it. It's already, we've already, it's like, this is the California independence, been there, done that movement.
Okay.
We've been saying the same thing for 4 years, and the best we can get from one side is, you're going to do it our way or else, and the other side says, just wait, when we're in power, it'll all be great again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense for any of us to continue to do this. It doesn't make sense. It's like, we don't have to be angry anymore. There's really little point in being angry. We know what their points are. We know what they want, and it's not good for us. It's just not good for us. What's left to us is a